Mercury is heading into Scorpio. It's not just Mercury and Scorpio, though, is it? It's also square to Pluto. So, Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. And with the square, we get tension. So, Mercury is about communication. Scorpio is a water sign, it's a sign of depth, and it is a very private, receptive sign because it's water. And Scorpio, private and receptive. So, Mercury in Scorpio, it's about stealth, it's about diving deep, it's great for researching. So, it's the researcher and the detective. And that's probably all you need to know. It wants to find out what is taboo and hidden. That's Scorpio. Mercury in Scorpio is going to ferret. It's going to be really great, deep psychological conversations. Think about the 1960s and that interest in psychology. There was a really strong Scorpio element influencing that time. So we can apply that now to Mercury. Square to Pluto. Okay, this is the rub. This is really the rub. So, square, we get the tension, the maximum tension. Mercury's just moving in to perfect that square now. Pluto is in Aquarius. So, Aquarius doesn't want to know about all that stuff. It wants to think about the future, not the psychological underpinnings or perhaps the metaphysics of things or the hidden or the dirty secrets. So, Mercury square Pluto it's like overdue or underdue. That's also the square, overdue or underdue. So perhaps some dirty little secrets are going to out. There's certainly the potential for conflict because Pluto is about power as well. Power issues particularly. And it's a hardcore energy. So if this is coming into conversations through the square, your own thought processes, depending what it's picking up in your chart, you're going to have the square bearing down on something caught up in that aspect set with your birth chart. That could be obsessive thinking. That's straight off the bat, something stuck in your craw and you just can't let it go. So if there's actually something you're researching or want to find out, this is great. It's going to push you over into it and push away other things so you can burrow down and find that out. Mercury square Pluto could also be about transforming your thoughts, transforming your mind, the power of language, the power of your mind, the power of thoughts. So this could be great for really digging into perhaps places you trip yourself up. The power of the mind. It could also be the plutonic that you don't want to know about, sort of interrupting your thoughts and your mind, like buried subconscious material that is sort of bubbling up unwelcome, or other people sharing their plutonic stories that can be really dark and tales of abuse or abuse of power, etc. It could be someone just trying to dominate you and dominate your mind, your speech, shut you down, keep you quiet, look at the texts on your phone. I actually had a tradesperson here that was telling me to show them my phone, and that felt quite plutonic. It felt quite dangerous. The energy really turned. And obviously I said no. And the power shifted. I was just messaging the land queen to say, this is the plan, is that cool with you? So I could say go ahead to the tradie. And he got all weird, and this is from Upwork, so a random person, and he said, maybe I should just go. And I said, yeah, you should just go. That's a good idea, just to cut off this power weirdness that was happening. And that was a really Pluto-y sort of square vibe. That's when Mars was square Pluto. So Mercury is with the language and the mind. It's interesting that Wayward Netflix series it's on at the moment, it's got some culty sort of stuff in it, and that's very Mercury square Pluto, cults, messing with your mind and dominating your mind. And it's a power trip. It's a play for dominance of your thoughts and what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. And on that note, there's a lot of that happening, isn't there? There's, in the US as well, all these particular words being scratched out that you're not allowed to have on a website, like government websites, scratching out the word women. And I think it's to do with funding and grants too. Women, health, lots of things. Obviously, the trans thing has been huge, but there's so much more than that. It's very combustive. There's a lot that we get upset about that's really pushed on. Obviously, the obvious one is, stuff that's happening in the US and the Palestine and Israel situation. It is upsetting. That is about power. But yeah, this is really coming back to language, the mind, the mindset. Remember that quote, energy goes, or where the mind flows, energy goes. Remember that. The squares are really difficult to balance and handle. There's really great, simple NLP sort of gestalt techniques that work very well with squares. Also, I'll leave that there. But if you're getting into something, you can refuse to play the game and just get out like I did with that tradie. So it's just not worth pursuing. Save yourself. So it is a tough one. It's quick though. This is quick. If you have this in your birth chart, this is a lifelong balancing act and something that needs to be learnt. Also with squares, like oppositions, there tends to be something that is not easily integrated because these two, it can be like parts of self are so different, and they are because of the signs they're in, because the signs square each other. Anyway, I'll leave that bit at that and continue on. I'd love to hear your stories, by the way, of this. Do you have this in your birth chart? How does it express? And how have you learnt to work with it? Also, maybe there's something you do need to sort of let some air into, and that Pluto is in Aquarius. So let some air into, get with the crowd, get a different perspective, shift your mindset, shift the energy through different ideas. The power of the group, the power of group ideas, or throwing something into the group and having it passed around. But yeah, these two are not playing nicely, and it's very hard to balance when you get a square, especially such a powerful outer planet to a personal planet. So as always, we're going to be able to watch the headlines and see what's going on the outside. This is just moving in now as well, accompanying this full moon in Aries. So it's part of what's adding to the intensity of it. We've just had that Mars square Pluto move out, and now we've got this Mercury square Pluto, and that's where a lot of this pressure's coming from with this one. So I know I've had to have a little shift of a mindset with something. I had friends come over and it really, really helped. Just have a laugh, have a chat about something that has been playing on my mind and it's really helped. So just be mindful of that square for now. The other thing is Mercury is going to retrograde. Not just yet, but it's going to retrograde once it hits Sagittarius and move back into Scorpio. So it's going to spend an extended amount of time in Scorpio, but not before getting that sort of coming up to surface, getting that bigger picture, and then it's going to go back down in and tinker around with the underpinnings, the aforementioned underpinnings. So just again, look at that in your chart. As an example, I have Sun at 5 degrees Sagittarius. Mercury's going to retrograde at 6 degrees. That means it's going to sit on my Sun for quite some time, longer than it usually does, because it goes so slowly as it slows down to then turn into the retrograde. It's called stationing, direct station retrograde. So that's going to be in my solar return chart too, again, Mercury retrograde for a second year running. So so that's something to keep in mind too. The retrograde is going to be from 6 degrees Sag. It's going to retrograde back to 20 degrees Scorpio. So November 9, it will retrograde and it will finish up on November 29. However, the pre-retro shade, so it enters the 20 Scorpio degree on October 21, which is what it's going to backtrack back over in the retrograde. Then it's going to go direct, of course, November 29, and then it's going to be clear of the post-retro shade, actually December 16. So in some ways you could say this goes from October 21st to December 16 for the whole cycle, whereas the retrograde itself, November 9 to November 29. So there's those dates a few times over. You can always book in with me for a reading and we can look at how this is landing in your chart. You can pick up my book, Astro Power, A Simple Guide to Prediction and Destiny, and that goes into the cycles of the planets and the meaning of the planets much more than the other books, although they touch on them as well. Pairs best with Star Power because that's birth charts and you can learn more about your personal birth chart. So you combine birth chart and transits and you're really cooking with gas. Have a great Mercury retrograde, full moon in Aries, and I'll see you on the flip side.